Met you in a past life, sweatpants, hair tied, chilling with no makeup on. That's when you're the prettiest.
Hey Honeytribe, so I know I told you guys that I'm not going to be making many videos. I just need time to reset, regroup, and focus on me right now with, all of the daily abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, the watching, all of that type of stuff. So I just want to say that I've been focusing on my healing, healing traumatic wounds, expanding and stabilizing my peace, dieting and fitness, and most of all, staying aligned with my safety and beliefs. My targeting and whatnot has been about the same since my last update I've uploaded. I've come to terms with the fact that anything assisting in my lack of peace, mental health, has to be limited or cut altogether. As a female chosen one, I'm actively choosing multiple self-love and nurturing activities and practices regularly. And it's helped also. I notice even with the mass crisis and recessions, these gang stalkers will try to pick at your self-esteem and flaws regularly. So when I say I notice that the mass crisis and recessions, that means if it's trending online for people to complain about not being able to keep up with bills or their lifestyle and, just overall essential needs to survive, you're off limits, targeted individual, chosen one. You're supposed to nonstop be perfect because you have sick, obsessed people that can't believe you're human, and they get to the point where they need to watch you 24/7, and they'll come up with reasons. That's why a lot of us that are truly chosen by the divine, we speak on, being favored or a lot of spiritual aspects that are playing into why you ended up in these situations, a lot of spiritual warfare. And if you were to just sit down with some of us on a one-on-one level and hear us, speak on things that we've been through early on before this thing, went big like it is now, you would come to terms, if you're spiritual, you would come to terms that, yeah, this was an all-out spiritual attack on you, your character, and everything else. And so I mention that because you start to see that, of course, the gang stalkers are not going to ever, most of them anyway, they're not going to sit down with themselves and say, yeah, I have a problem. I'm obsessed with this person. I enjoy trying to bring their life quality down. I enjoy sabotaging opportunities for this person to reach their fullest potential. Most of them are not disciplined. They're not protected spiritually. And a lot of them are just never going to come up with, certain obvious signs and deal with certain obvious signs that they have a problem, and that a problem is obsession. And so in this video, I am going to, because I have some notes I'm reading from, I am going to speak on how a lot of times you can tell that you're not bugging out, you're not tripping about how obsessed people are with you, and that it's nothing about what they have to say that this is happening for. It's not that you're famous. It's not even that you've done anything. It's not even that you got caught or anything like that, because everybody is normal. And if you were a bot or NPC or just somebody they could control, they would have washed their hands with really gang stalking you a long time ago, because you would be miserable, or you would just be functioning how they would be okay. You wouldn't walk in rooms and it seems like you steal all the attention because of your personality, because of your energy or aura, not just your looks. And so if you were to live a certain quality life where a lot of people didn't feel threatened by you, people that have sold out, people that have bootlicked just to have some sort of status, because they have low self-esteem, or they feel like they need to be more powerful than other people when it comes to these cults and organizations. If they didn't see you as that type of threat, they would have left you alone, regardless of what you've done that they claim is the reason. So, for example, say somebody that's on a targeted individual community watch list for reasons that would imprison somebody, reasons that would put, if certain people that have these positions of power and authority where, they're high level Masons, Eastern Stars, whatever, if they feel like, oh, that person isn't a threat, I get to, I have power over this person. I could control this person. I can embarrass them when I want. I can make them hate themselves. I can make them, because remember, this is spiritual. Keep that in mind. If these type of people, because these are the type of people that decided to do this to you, if they were to ever be able to get you to that point, to where your existence does not make them feel inadequate. It does not make them feel like they have to study, research, or just sit up pathetically trying to brainstorm on reasons on how they could ultimately destroy your life, your health, your peace, your freedom, and things like that if they didn't feel threatened by you somehow. So just remember, never accept or tell yourself that, oh, I did something wrong to be, watched and abused psychologically and mentally and projected on nonstop. These are all people who are human. They've made mistakes. A lot of them have broken the laws. They have done all kind of egregious things. But see, when it comes to them, it's cool. It's a cult. It's Illuminati. It's, we're millionaires. We do things like this. We're sick. But they need to scapegoat you, and they need to make you feel like they're justified for their obsession. They're justified for their abuse on you. And so I just want you to keep that to the forefront of your mind. So back to the notes, it says here, as a female chosen one, which I believe I stated already, I just want to make sure that I highlight this. I'm actively choosing multiple self-love and nurturing activities and practices regularly, and it's helped also. I notice even with the mass crisis and recessions that these gang stalkers will try to pick at your self-esteem and flaws regularly. So again, I just wanted to highlight that as well so that you guys can relate that to the times we're living in now. It doesn't matter that millions and trillions of people are also suffering from, inflation and things like that. They want to constantly compare you to people who don't even live real lives. Okay. Plants, sellouts, bots, and people whose lifestyle is not even real. Sometimes we don't know if their management team is handing them counterfeit money behind the scenes, fake jewelry. Okay. I don't even think that these type of things are off limits when it comes to whether it's modeling industries, just regular marketing, or the music industry. I don't believe that that's off limits because, they feel like with the connections that you have, the people that we can, set you up with collaborations, whether this be in taking pictures or music or something. Why would they think that you have fake jewelry on or fake money? So anyway, the whole industry, all of these platforms are fake. Okay. And so even with these factors being involved, they will try to constantly pick at your flaws and, things that you battle, your self-esteem, and just different areas, okay, that might not be as perfect or up to the fullest potential that you have to offer because they're constantly sabotaging your life. So it's so weird that they like doing that, but they workplace mob, they bully, and they sabotage your finances nonstop. This is why I stress in my videos previously to focus on yourself and accept with gratitude that you are not in the matrix. A clear sign that you're not tripping or going crazy with how far gang stalkers will go to see you not live up to your potential is consider your early life experiences like middle age, like high school, middle school. These are excellent examples of treatment defining, should I say, of your current targeting. So if you dealt with constant bullying from both genders, them needing to outcast you at times, staged situations. So say you're a part of a dance team, a cheerleading team, a step team or something, and they will stage little small incidents to humiliate you. What did you do in middle school and elementary to be dealing with this? See what I'm saying? And females or people in general not wanting to see you receive equal treatment. And so it's so important that I go back and layer over the humiliation situations that you dealt with in elementary, middle, and high school, because even though obviously, should I say, a lot of the students, okay, a lot of your peers, they were obviously easily manipulated. They were children. Young adults, it was very easy to manipulate them. So even if they necessarily didn't want to go along with it, they did it because they were being, manipulated. They were easily programmed. And these were grooming tactics to get you prepared for being humiliated, targeted, and isolated in the real world. So it's not far-fetched that a teacher could somewhat, without any spiritual aspects involved, tarot readings, some may be so, but it's not far-fetched that a teacher could look into just looking at the way that your life is while you're in middle school, high school. a lot of times instinctively they could probably pick up on the danger and just the hatred, the demons lurking, the darkness that your destiny could clearly have looming over it. And I'm saying it didn't take a rocket scientist or somebody that's heavy into tarot reading. Sometimes just based off the treatment that you're receiving in the everyday classroom. If people, like I said, I think I said this in another video before, but if people who do have a head start, they do consider themselves to be more well off than you. You guys see each other every day at school. They maybe get to rock designer purses. They might be hand-me-downs from their aunts or cousins or mothers, but they look at it as though, I have a real Louis Vuitton bag and we're only in 7th grade, or, situations like that, which I didn't have much of that in my, I grew up in kind of like a more low class school, public housing type of situation. So it really wasn't a lot of that, but I just want to use that as an example because, nowadays things like that will be more common with so many kids having, influencers for parents or celebrities for parents and things like that. But even if you had people who kind of were a little bit more well off and they had access to things like that, they would still, this is more so use an example of how you can tell that you're not tripping about the treatment that you're getting, that, helping you define it. Even though they're having a $1,800 purse, it might be a little used, the zipper may have fell off, because remember, these are middle schoolers, high schoolers. So their aunts or, certain family members, their parent may have gave this to them, or maybe they could have bought it brand new, but they have quality and access to these type of things. They have access and quality to these type of things, and they still, for whatever reason, feel something. They feel like anxious around you, or, they feel even better when you're not there. So if there's a pep rally or a game, I was one of the people that I do remember now that I'm thinking on it. I never really wanted or stressed going to like the football games or the basketball games. But when I did enjoy myself. Surprisingly, I was like, I actually had a good time. And the looks and sometimes maybe even the subliminal comments. Of course, I was still in a much more consciously sleep state. So I didn't notice the people that would come sit next to me or the people that, the comments that they would make. But all of it is in alignment with showing you that situations like this in your early years, when it comes to like the adults or, the authoritative figures that loomed over your life at that time, they were playing a part in trying to groom you and prepare you for when you don't have to come to school 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Now it's about what career you have, what level and status of financial wealth that you'll accumulate, who you'll marry, just what type of quality life that you'll have. So they were setting you up then and grooming you for a life of being isolated, a life of the community and neighbors watching all day long. Because if you can't go to school with all different types of races, walks of life, people with different financial situations they're born into, and people just, oh, that's such and such, like most of the other students were able to deal with. For whatever reason, there was still the coughing and clearing of the throat when you walk in the classroom. There was weird jokes. There was, color coordination. A lot of this stuff was going on then, is what I'm saying. And because like many of us conscious people have already exposed in America, most are not truly free. So this is not to remove the blame from the authoritative figures or teachers, but I will say a lot of them were coerced and taught to do this to many of us. It's something that I believe that at the time they did without even thinking twice about or even asking why. It just at that point, it was protocol. This is a part of my job, something that I'm being told to do. And they just looked over it and behaved as the authoritative figure, should I say, wanted them to behave. So getting all of that, I just want you guys to take a moment as I've just brought this up and think about, how was those years? How was middle school? How was high school for you? And I'm only speaking to the chosen ones that are targeted. How were these years for you? Were you somebody that kind of could catch a break and, you could keep a stable relationship, which of course, it's not always praised or looked up to or clapped about, or something that a lot of people would brag about their children dating in middle or high school. But it's common. It's not something that's just going to make people clutch their pearls because they hear about ninth graders, 10th graders, or 8th graders, or 7th graders being in a relationship, okay? Especially heterosexual relationships. So if you know that you can think back on little crushes that you had, or relationships that you know, involved yourself in, even friendships and even associations, people you just associated with, and you noticed there was a heavy, constant instability with you being able to, now I'm not saying, you know, arguments, disagreements, fights don't happen growing up. Of course, everybody has those memories, you know, but what I'm saying is everyone. It's like you never can keep stable associates without anything changing, without it being the same outcome, you know, where I'm intimidated, obviously jealous of you. I've spread rumors that are not true that you end up having to confront me about in front of the whole school. Like, if that was like the constant theme, even in relationships, the relationships were sabotaged that you had with the opposite gender. If you notice that, as well as even people that you consider to be close friends, you know, those that would come spend the night, the people that you would, you know, hang out with on the weekends at least 2 times out of the month. If you notice there was just a constant battle and sabotage and, like I said, the humiliation energy, these are clear signs that if you're dealing with this type of energy now, especially if you're still in your hometown, which I would definitely highly recommend not to be. If you're still dealing with these type of energies, that's a sign that you're not tripping. People are definitely obsessed. They've been obsessed. They've been intimidated. They've been hateful. They've been envious and not wanting you to live up to the full potential of your life. You had groups. It wasn't even just genders. It wasn't even just male and female, okay? You still had people also just grouping up. And some of the things I will say, it probably didn't have to be as serious, like in a hurtful way, or in a way to where it would be categorized as bullying. I mean, you standing out, being isolated, unbeknownst to you, to the point where you see a group of people that you mutually deal with, you know, whether it's the people that ride your bus, you speak to them, maybe they stay in your neighborhood, maybe they have a class with you. You see a group of them, you walk towards them, maybe they ask a question, hey, why did the alarm go off? Or do you guys know if this particular bus left? Or just a neutral question, right? And it's almost like somebody said for them to act a certain way before you approach. So you approach them not because you really necessarily want to hang out or anything. These are just people that you're familiar with, and you go up to this group and you ask them a question. You know, what was that fight about up there at the Checkers or what? And they all say like some little key word like chicken nugget. And you're like, what? And you got some of them kind of laughing under. These type of signs, like I said, they probably didn't always look at it as, oh, we're bullying this person. But you got to ask yourself, why were people so drawn, even in groups, even when it's man and woman? Why were people always so, like, what was it about your energy? And so I'm helping you get to the depth of who you are. And even though we know that we're smart, we're wise, we're spiritual, things like that, and that's why we ended up targeted. They can't get us to conform. They can't place us anywhere in society. They can't put us in one of the groups like the movie Divergent talks about. I'm helping you unravel and go down the rabbit hole of your soul and see. So think back when these times were happening. Did you have really deep insight, intuitive moments, clarity? Were you somebody that was introvert at times, even though you could be extrovert as well? Because me, I'm both equally 50-50. Were you somebody that even outside of school, you were just different? Like the music that you would like to listen to, the movies that you watched, things you were drawn to. Like if you had a lot of different positive quality things that you like to look into, think about, entertain yourself with, that, you know, if you were to have told other classmates and, you know, things like that about this, they probably would have looked at you weird, or you listen to that, or you like that, or things like that. If you know that that's the type of individual that you were even then, people could feel that. That's your light, okay? That's your aura. And because you didn't have just really like a watered down program type of aura to where you can just, maneuver and go with the wind with any group in the because you did, more than likely you were very popular. Because I know I was very, very popular. I had a lot of people that for the most part, I'm sure they would say, yes, I liked her. If she didn't come to class, we noticed. If we missed a day without her showing up to school, we noticed. It's something that somewhat affected us a little bit. And I know that to be the case with me, but if there was still this urge and need from a lot of people to sometimes make you feel left out, make you feel like you don't know what's going on and there's nowhere you can find the answers to, or things like that, that is because they had just a much more serious, wiser, and spiritual side to you that they couldn't match. Right. And so it also would show you like the household you grew up in. Like my mom, she encouraged me to listen to Celine Dion. She encouraged me to listen to Beethoven. She encouraged me to have spa days with her and I'm not saying everybody came from poverty, but these are just small examples of what I mean. And I just explained to you what type of community I grew up in. That would be rare, especially for a Black girl. And so we walked around our neighborhood, me, my mom, and my little sisters, and we would feed the geese, feed the ducks, and she would sing to the trees, the birds. Like we were just really zen-like. To be in the hood living like that. And of course, this wasn't moments when a lot of people would be outside watching. They could have been. I'm not sure, but I'm saying overall, you had a home and a life where you just stood out when it comes to high vibrational aspects. That doesn't take away from, the flaws of my parents or, the shortcomings, the poverty that we battled with here and there. But I'm just saying overall, you had a side of you that was also inside of you that it wasn't always turned off or it wasn't always invisible. And majority of your classmates are people in your early years, and it's still happening now. They could see that about you and it make them uncomfortable. If that's just not something you make time for yourself, if you grew up in a very ignorant community or ignorant, hateful, hate-driven family where everything is just about making money, for example, if you came from one of those families or if you know of people that mistreated you early on that came from those type of families where they're ignorant, they're ratchet, but they are money based. They are focused nonstop on, how to have more than people or how to do more than people. But nothing is about healing. Nothing is about, aligning themselves with self, anything like that. You can see how a lot of times their mentality would keep them back. Like yoga, why would I do yoga? Like very ignorant type of people. And then you have the ones that don't ever reach, the status of wealth or coming into the money and opportunities that they want, that also have these ignorant mindsets. And so if you're nonstop mainly being around that, or, that's who's gang stalking you, or that's who's drawn towards you, of course that would intimidate them. They don't know about it. They feel trapped because of the people that they grew up around or that they associate with regularly. They're not like that. So jealousy is a common emotion that is the result and outcome of them just feeling like you're different. Right? Can you fit in? Can you be a rock star? Can you be awesome superstar? Can you ace and succeed at all of your, goals, dreams, desires, and potential? Yes. But unfortunately, we live in a very hateful world where if they don't see a 25 to 40 group member relative stability system behind you, that's a green light for them to come in and attack you. They don't feel intimidated because that's their mind frame. If they feel like by not seeing you be surrounded around people, you know what I'm saying? That's opposite. That's the same reason, but in the opposite, in the reverse of why when you go somewhere alone, or even if you have a person or two around you, this is why they mob. This is why they group up. And you have the community mobbing where you go to the Family Dollar, you go to the gas station, and it's, as you were approaching it and you pulled in the parking lot, there was no other cars there. And now all of a sudden there's 40, not literally, but there's tons and tons of cars pulling up. They have really loud, aggressive music. Maybe the music is saying something disrespectful, or it's, saying that it's gonna, it's music saying, about harming somebody or violence. This type of shit takes a very heavy toll on a person's spirit, mind, and body and soul. Constantly having that. And what's fucked up is a lot of them don't even have to deal with that. The ones that are gang stalking, whenever they just, oh shit, it's 3:00 in the morning, I ran out of cigarettes or cigars, whatever it is that they need, I need to go get a beer, whatever type of habits that they have at 3, 4 in the morning, they can just get up. It might be one car, one or two, because everybody is watched to a certain extent, but everybody's not targeted. So they don't know what years of that can build up and do to a person. And this is why in previous videos I've told you guys, take it easy on yourself. You should not be a robot. Don't ever get upset with yourself when you feel the need to think out loud. As long as you're not putting yourself at risk for people to document and try to spin the narrative and make it seem like you are a mental ill person or you have that type of crisis going on, it is absolutely okay for you to take a moment to breathe, speak out loud and communicate with yourself and tell yourself everything's going to be okay. Reiterate what you know is going on and taking place and affirm that you realize that and take that power back. That's fine, because years and years and years of this type of stuff, it can fuck up your nervous system. It can, it's really abuse, And so with that being said, I wanted a lot of you guys to consider a lot of this stuff now that you're an adult. You're getting older and older, and this type of stuff is still happening. And the sad part is, like, certain stigmas or limitations that the average person faces, you're so favored, people will not be able to stick those stigmas or those particular limitations on you. And that is something else that will increase your targeting. So that's how you can become 50 years old and you have younger people jealous of you. You can have no money and you have people that are envious and just intimidated by your existence. So keep all of these things in mind. But back to that note, when groups of females and men are in that energy, some chosen ones don't want to see, the pros in this life, being given the opportunity to evolve your soul, to say the least. There's some chosen ones, they don't want to go through this, So sadly, a lot of them take the lowest of the lowest treatment to somewhat fit in and stop becoming gang stalk. I've seen that where they just become an addict. They constantly live around people or deal with people or are always around people that are younger, their age and older than them, that talk to them like they're not shit, that treat them so fucked up. And they die out like that. They age out and have a life of that, or, they'll just probably repeat their past life situations. They won't truly ever evolve their soul. And so they don't handle it in the most high vibrational manner. So I hope this video, to you chosen ones, I prefer, the term chosen ones and targeted individuals. I hope this video was able to, help a lot of you guys accept that there are people who, have everything, you understand, or at least have most of what they want and desire, and they still live to see you have nothing. Imagine people who have sold out to have everything, and they can't even enjoy it because just the thought of you having anything, your goals and small priorities met, let alone your desires, it makes them suicidal. It makes them cringe. It makes them angry. And so this is why a lot of them have band together probably a long time ago when you were really asleep, trusting people, telling people your dreams, your goals, and then you were actually practicing working hard on those songs, that mixtape, that, and you're going for 8 hours a day, and then you're so sleep that these particular people that are connected to people that are powerful or whatever, that are like, I'm going to make sure that this person never lives up to this, I'm going to follow them. You can kind of see why exactly your life is like this. And this is how it got you to this point. To where you don't even have the basic things to survive. Now, I am giving the system a very rare glitch right now. And so what they're not even gaslighting, what they're doing with delusion and illusion spells. And I recently exposed this on one of my most previous videos with how they'll have this fake lie going out that you're famous and stuff. Because of my spiritual growth, I'm going to just say that and leave it there to not put too much of my personal business online of what's helping me and what I'm looking into and practicing. Because of my spiritual evolution, they have no choice but to tell people that I'm famous. Things have changed after people made sworn an oath and signed contracts and made it a lifelong commitment to try to get me to kill myself or die from stress or heart attack or something weird like that. Again, I don't have any heart issues. My heart chakra may have been attacked, just like all of my chakras, but I don't have any heart problems. So after them becoming delusional, completely forgetting that that was the lifelong agreement, there's a glitch happening because of my protection and my enlightenment. And so now they need these people, instead of them knowing, hey, this shit don't work on everybody. This Masonic evil ass grouping up, ganging up, getting up. Instead of them being honest, because that would just cause their whole system to collapse. And honestly, there are people who are also tarot readers, psychic, spiritualists, and things like that know that. And they've walked away. And this is why you see this thing slowly, this matrix slowly starting to collapse anyway. But the ones that, like I stated already, that are easily programmed, they're told what to believe in, what church to go to, what they can't practice and believe. Those individuals, they need to have them believing that, hey, the only reason why this person's life is livable, it's not inhumane right now and out of control and hasn't been for a while, is because they're famous. They're a celebrity. They're just like you guys. And even though we can clearly see that the treatment from the past and the present and things that they plan for the future are not normal. It's not situations that they would do to their loved ones, their friends, or hell, even their enemies. And so what's happening now is they're trying to have these people believing that, any of you targeted individuals, chosen ones out there, that you found a niche or some type of spiritual protection to get you what it is that you ultimately need just to begin to work on some of your flaws, like getting your health together, working out, exercising, working on your mental health, right? Because we know that without certain needs, essential needs, to even work on the bruises and emotional wounds that are on you because of this programming, because of the gang stalking and all of this stuff over the years, the toll that it's taken, we know that you would be dead, right? And so they can be delusional. The blessing is we're not. And so I'm ending this video here by just saying that imagine being them. Imagine having most of, your needs, all of your needs, your goals, your desires, and somebody that has nowhere near any of that. Okay. Even in the past had nothing. And you have people fighting to keep them from their basic needs so that they can begin to work on removing certain energies, cleansing out certain unwanted energies and things like that. And them just imagining you being able to start to work on yourself, heal yourself, and progress your life quality, it has them suicidal. Just think that, it's a sad world that we live in. But with that being said, you guys, like I stated already, I am pulling back from social media for now as far as uploading videos about the targeting, gang stalking. I've kind of advanced to different routes to take for certain solutions. And me seeing how serious this is as a reader, as a spiritualist, that's just not something that I focus on right now, making videos and talking about it. I really, really want to defeat this situation. And I've absolutely received and gained the strength, okay? Because it takes strength. And sometimes if you're not doing what needs to be done spiritually, there's no way that you can accumulate, pray, or even think to pray to ask for that. So I'm in a space of strength right now to where I actually want to defeat this program and all of the many different attacks that, you know, it was created to place on me. And so because I'm at that space now, one of the recent current sacrifices that needed to be made was just kind of stepping back from every time I get a revelation or every time I feel like I need to vent, which that's why I'm doing more journaling now, yoga, breathing meditations and things like that, regular meditations, to take up that space, because that was somewhat of a habit that I made. It wasn't a long-lived habit, but it was something that I was doing, which is why you guys were getting more videos from me. And so because I need more time with peace and my mind clear to hear Spirit's instructions, I decided to kind of push back from uploading these videos, and just for the point of privacy, you know, because we already don't have much of that. And so I am going to be uploading regularly on my Princess Diamond channel, really short videos for, you know, the signs, the astrological signs, zodiac signs, more than likely once a week, to work on that channel more and to grow that business. If you want to support that, I will include the link in the description of that channel. If it's not there or you still can't find it, then just type in Princess Diamond Readings or Princess Diamond Tarot, and you'll see like a black, purple, and maybe even pink background. But you'll see like that some of the different signs, the zodiac sign tarot reading. So I will be uploading short videos over there, you guys. So feel free to subscribe there and stay tuned. I'm thinking like sometimes next week, a little bit before Valentine's Day, I'm going to start back uploading short videos for all 12 signs. And then every now and then I may do a collective message. And it won't have anything to do with the targeting, gang stalking, or anything like that, because I do readings for myself on that type of stuff to survive and to protect my energy. And I also have been encouraging, but I still do encourage a lot of you guys to do the same. But if you just want to, you know, get like a weekly update, like I said, as far as your personal sign, if you're Scorpio or Sag or any of the zodiac signs, about just general messages, not necessarily geared at love, finances, or anything like that, just general messages, then that's what I'll be uploading over there, okay? Talk to you guys later. Peace.